I named today's live stream, it's going to be a quick one, cost of inaction and consequences, because as you guys know, like I'm constantly in touch with a lot of producers, right? A lot of producers that every one of these producers have different aspirations and different goals and places they want to be. What's up, Mitchell? How's it going? So I wanna shape a bit the way you think on how to proceed in general in production. What I'm about to talk to you about, I've talked in different trainings in the past, but I'm just going to kind of reshape it and present it in a way of cost of inaction. Every decision you take in your life has some form of cost in it. It could be cost associated, financial cost. It might be time cost. It might be anything in general that if you kind of assess the decision you're going to take, it might be like, well, it's going to take me a lot of time, or this is going to cost me a lot of money, or this is going to take away from my time with people I care about. Whatever it is, things have cost in general. So when you act on something, there's a cost of whatever sort of value or unit you want to use. There's also a cost of inaction, right? So whenever you decide not to act on that, whatever it is that you're acting on, there's also assessing the cost of that. So whenever you're in a situation where you're trying to assess the right decision, you kind of make a list of pros and cons in your head, right? So if I do this versus I don't do this, these are the pros and these are the cons. A lot of times, having spoken to a lot of producers don't have the reflex to assess the cost of inaction in something. And I've realized that, and it's data I've gathered through seriously having spoken to thousands of producers, up and coming producers, those that have been producing for a few years, those that have been producing for 10 years. The concept repeats itself. The thought process of how I'm what I'm experiencing in those conversations, kind of, there's a lot of like there's a kind of a trend happening in terms of how people respond to things. Now, what I want to talk about here is your goals and your aspirations are unique to you, right? You might say, well, Vardy, I want to tour, I want to make money off music, whatever that looks like. Fine, but if you go in the depths of that, you realize that from producer A to producer B, what producer A wants in terms of what that looks like and the details of it might be very different than what the other producer wants. One thing's for sure though, when we talk to a lot of producers, and here data is important because it's good to see what everyone else is doing and try to do things that others are not willing to do. Right? And I talk about this a lot, right? If you do everyone else is doing, you're going to be in the same kind of like ballpark of what people are achieving. Now, when you're in a situation where I'm just going to backtrack one because I don't want to forget a thought. So having spoken to a lot of producers and what option, let's say producer A, producer B, and what their kind of outcome is in music, it always relates to this concept of freedom. And it's I know this because a lot of producers indirectly or directly tell me like freedom is something important. And when I dig into what they mean by freedom, for them producing music at any level, whether it's artistic creations or providing services, it's like, Vardy, I'd rather kind of be in a studio and live off my music. That's a conversation that often happens. Even those that say, I don't want to live off music, I just do music for fun, I've realized the more I question them and the more I conversate with them, it kind of rises to the top. Well, if I was able to make money off music, I would live off music. And this is such an important topic because option A, students are, well, producers, I'll call them, know what they want, which is I want to make a living off music one way or another. Option B, it's like they tell themselves every day that they just want to do music and making money is not important. But when asked the question, would you rather do your job or do music and get paid for it? It's like the answer is like, I'd rather get paid to do music. So there's a massive concentration of producers. I would say a good like 8 out of 10 producers I speak to want to find a way to make a living off music. Now, what I'm about to tell you is very, very simple. It's not like highly advanced physics here. It's not rocket science. Whatever it is, like tomorrow, if I want to like start running a business, first thing I ask myself, it's like, okay, well, I have an idea, I have a desire to get there. The first thing I would do is I'll pick the brain of business owners that are successful. what that'll teach me is a wealth of information that I would otherwise not have. So option A for me is going down the road of just figuring shit out in business and growing my business, right? And that'll take me years and years and years to make crazy amount of mistakes to get there. Part of that is ingrained in the process. You have to make mistakes and you have to fail yourself to get there 100%. But it'll take me 10 times the time, right? This concept comes back to music production. This concept comes back to, say you're producing professional music and you're looking a way to make money. It's like, okay, well, who can I learn that from, right? So the reason why I'm bringing education back, A, because I'm an educator, B, because I see this happening in front of my eyes every single day. Producers on one hand tell me, Vardy, making money off music is the most important thing in my life. Or getting to a professional sounding music is the most important thing in my life. Cool. We have that fact kind of settled in and we know what the aspiration is. Now, when time comes to get help, and this is not a conversation of you should get help from me. If you like me and if you feel like I'll provide value to you and you want to work with me and you trust me, 100%. If not, you want to work with another educator, go for it. I'll encourage you 100%. The idea is when a decision is made to kind of assess, is something worth it? Is an education worth it? Is this investment in myself worth it? We always think of the cost of action. And the cost of action, a lot of times, like the time it's going to take and the investment behind it. And a lot of times it's scary. It's scary. I know it's scary because good education costs a lot of money. What's the cost of inaction though? If an education pushes you, this is very important. This is like life-changing information if you act on it. Any aspects of your life, not only production. If the cost of, if the education speeds you up by 2-3 years, what's the cost of inaction? What's the cost of inaction in terms of not being there 2-3 years before? Like, for example, if you're a service provider, like just to let you guys know, like I've made money, like a living off an artist, touring, getting tracks signed to labels and all of the above. I've made a living off music through mixing and mastering for producers. I've made a living off writing music for other producers. You might call that ghost production or you might call that whatever it is, like kind of additive production. I've made money off educating. I love educating the most. That's me personally. But just to say, like, I've made money from multiple sources of income in music, right? What's the cost of inaction for someone like me who, say, was ready, let's say is ready by this summer to be able to monetize the skills or get signed to big labels or whatever it is? Let's take as a service provider, right? It's easy for someone with decent level of skills to make a couple of grand a month, right? So say $2,000 a month. Let's really like calculate this and put it in action, right? If you're going to make $2,000 a month and you don't need to be lucky to make that money, if you have the skill set and you can learn how to kind of position yourself in the industry, it's very, very doable. It's not a luck thing. It's all about knowing how to do things. If you're at a point where you get to a point where you're producing music or you have skill sets that are very valuable, let's say this summer, for example, right? Versus not taking an education that's going to get you there and you'll be there 3 summers from now, let's say summer 2026. Those are 3 years lost of potential opportunities. Say you make $2,000 a month, minimum of, let's say, side income, right? 2,000 times 12, that's 25,000 a year, right? 25,000 a year times 3, that's $75,000. That's $75,000 of additional income that you're passing on by saying no to an opportunity to want to get better at, no matter how much it costs. Would you, right, invest in yourself and pay like a lot of money, right? Whatever, let's say X, for you to be in a position to be able to save X times 10? This is basic math, right? So when you're taking decisions in life, again, this is beyond just music production, right? This is beyond music production. If you want to go on a venture one day and you want to get the help of someone who's an expert and that's charging you like $20,000, right, to get you there. If you say, if I'm going to spend $20,000 and I'm going to actually make 50, 60, 70, 80, $100,000 out of it, the cost of inaction is like 10 times more expensive, right? And this is what I want you guys to remember. Whenever you're taking any decision in life, there's cost of action, cost of inaction. Assess it properly. And don't assess it from a place of like, oh, what if things don't work out, right? Everyone thinks like that. Everyone's scared to take a leap, to make a decision. This is a mindset type of training which you will see at many levels in your production journey, whether you are producing for music for yourself or whether you're increasing your skill set to be able to monetize your skill set, right? These type of issues, whether it's through help from a professional or not, are going to come all across you as an entrepreneur. You're going to have to decide, right? It's like, do I go this path or this path? Don't assess situations one-dimensionally, right? So I want you to think about things this way, because it's going to change the way you see results. Is it more risky? Not really. It's actually riskier. For example, the business example where you invest 20K and make 100K, right? It's actually riskier not investing the 20K, because odds are it's guaranteed that the difference of 80K you're going to lose. So what's more risky? Like, we tend to have a weird association of what's risk in life, because we see people around us living in scarcity and in a sense of fear and not taking leaps, right? So we say, okay, well, if I don't take a leap, I'll be safe because everyone around me is doing that. Number one. Number two, there's a comfort level issue. This is something new to you, right? And there's also a self-belief issue. A lot of times when presented in a situation where you want to speed up your education from someone that you like and you trust, which is super important, because if you don't like and you don't trust someone, you should not work with them regardless of what their results might be. But if you like and trust someone, and you assess the results, having a conversation with them, seeing their testimonials, seeing what students are going through, you get to assess, like, you know what, my cost of action a lot of times is going to cost me way more money, way more time, right, than if I were to act on it. Number one. Number two, very few people do it. So by me doing it puts me in a pocket of people where things are less saturated. I'm learning faster, I'm finding myself faster, and I'm wasting less time dicking around, right? So you might be in this group just to learn to write music better, and you don't really care about doing music at a higher level. And that's okay. Consume this content, that's free. If you're at a point in your life, though, where music is really important to you, and you're actually telling yourself, you go to sleep at night and say, you know what, I want to make a living off music somehow, and you're not getting the help, remember, every second that you don't take a decision to get help from experts, it's costing you more money, it's costing you more time, it's costing you more resources, right? So I just wanted to shine light on this. It's not a simple topic, it's a complicated topic. I understand everyone has their personal situations, right? And I could sit down with students and talk for hours about their personal situation and what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. But one thing remains the same. If you're faced in a situation where something is going to take you from here to here, right? There's massive amount of expertise that's being injected in your brain and in your skill set. That's like, it's like the reason why I've been at a situation in my life where I live off music is not because I'm lucky. It's not because I'm a genius. It's not because I have connections. None of them. It's because I've invested in myself at multiple different levels in my career. Why? Because I told myself I have no other option. By the way, I had a 6-figure paying job before doing music. Like, I had massive opportunities in the corporate world. I left all that. And I told myself, I'm not going back. Even though I have a university degree, I have experience to sell, I have experience of all sorts, I could go back. I had a cushion to go back in music. Always did. And I told myself, I have none. I convinced myself that there is no way back. I've burned all the bridges in the back. I'm just going forward. I'm going to make this music a thing. But the only reason I was able to be in this place is because I made scary decisions like that. But in reality, it's not scary. What's scarier is the cost of inaction. If I don't get help, I would not be where I am today, influencing so many producers around the world. So many producers come and work with me, and yes, they pay big bucks, and I make a big difference in their lives, right? But for me to even be here as an individual, right, whether you guys want to be where I am or you guys want to be able to make money off touring and playing shows, which I've done before, right, there's time investment, there's financial investment. Think about it this way: cost of action, cost of inaction. By me saying no because it's more comfortable, what am I passing on? A lot of times it costs you way more. So I don't know if you guys have thought this way before. I hope this kind of changes the way you guys think, how you take decisions in your life, right? Do the fucking crazy shit. Do the shit that people around you would never fucking do. That's what makes you different. That's what makes you learn stuff that no one around you will understand or experience, right? So I hope this is helpful. If you guys have any questions, I could stick around with regards to this topic. I know it's a deeper topic and it goes pretty like cerebral about it. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer. I have like a couple of minutes left. If not, I'm gonna head off, and I hope this was helpful for you guys. Anyone has any questions from the guys watching? Was this helpful? What was some of your takeaways? Don't be shy. You could type. What's up, Daniel? How's it going, man? Your track was pretty cool at the track feedback live stream. I remember. Mitchell, Thomas, Glenn, any questions? Anything with regards to this? Anything that's in your mind? I know there's a bit of a delay, so I'll stick around a bit. Like by the time I'm talking and you guys get to hear it and type it out. You're welcome, Daniel. Apologies. Have listening as working, but nice and clear. Whatever so far. You're welcome, Glenn. 100%. 100%. I had no one to teach me shit like this, man. I had no one in my life teaching me. I mean, my dad was great. My dad told me to go to school, do everything right, and I did that. I got my university degree, started working, went high up in a corporate, super in, you know. No one taught me proper risk taking in life, which actually makes a massive difference, and has completely transformed who I am today. And things I'm someone that's an introvert, and I know most of you guys think I'm a highly extrovert because like Vardy's always on camera, Vardy's always talking and sharing. It's like, but I've gone through a lot of difficult times in my life to be able to be here. So always remember, do the uncomfortable thing, and always think about what's the cost of inaction, right? It's cost of inaction, for example, not going to the gym, right? Very basic example, right? Cost of action is maybe money or monthly fee, and then your effort. What's the cost of inaction? Or you're gonna pretty much get fat and die young. Sorry, I'm saying it the way it is, right? And you're not gonna feel at the energy levels you want to. People don't always think about the cost of inaction. They know, right? In situations of high level education, it's always like, oh, that money's scary. It's like, oh my god, that's like, I don't. Is it gonna work for me? Like, am I good enough to be able to be there? Right? These are all the thoughts. It's like, what other option do you have? Right? Just continue doing what you're doing, and then it's going to cost you 10 times more, and you're going to feel you're not going to get the confidence you would have had, right? And you're not going to get there. That's a great question, Glenn. Yeah, I'll have to clarify with your question in a sense, like how long I've been working to achieve where I am like today in terms of producer and educator, just in general. Like I've been in music a big part of my life. I started into dance music over 12, 13 years ago. Seriously, I've been doing music for about like easy 9, 10 years full time. So I put in everything I got because it's the most important thing in my life. I mean, now family is more important than my music, don't get me wrong, but it's for me, it's like I see people around me finding success in music. I'm like, if they can do it, I can do it. Applying yourself and going all in. It's not about kind of dipping your foot in the water and then seeing if it works out. Nothing in life works out that way. And if it does, you lose it quick. Yeah, general music career. I started off playing guitar in like rock metal bands when I was very young, like 14, 15 years old. Did that for about 10 years. Then I focused more on the corporate world. I actually done a post that describes my story. In my early 20s, I started traveling the world. I put music to the side. I then went in the corporate world and went into sales, managing a big department. So music was less of a thing back then, until I realized I did what I was told to do. Go to school, be good at it, make a lot of fucking money. I did all that, and I was like, no, I'm like, I'm not gonna live this life that I have not fucking doing music and being good at it. So I said, what's the best way to do it? Apply yourself 100%, invest in yourself wherever you can. Get there as fast as possible. Fast as possible, meaning like work smart and learn from people ahead of you. Yeah. And so does that answer your question? 100%, man. I'm glad this is describing your life. Like, it's this is what this quick thought process before I let you guys go, because I'm gonna have to head off. People approach music. We're programmed by people around us that, hey, up, get a real fucking job. That's like poison, right? I've had that I had multiple girlfriends that, oh, eventually he's gonna kind of phase out of this, not making any money, da da da, and he's gonna get a real job. I'm like, I had a real job, what that means, and I wasn't like, I wasn't, right, until I told myself I'm gonna do something scary, and that's like, it's a lot of effort, and I did it, right? And I did it, and it took me years and years and years of effort. You just have to apply yourself at levels where no one will understand you. When you apply yourself at levels and those commitment levels, you slowly kind of start isolating yourself from the masses in the world of, let's say, music production, and stick out. You sticking out is what's different in you, what you bring to the world, whether it's the sound use, whether it's the skill level you have, whether it's the message you have in terms of how you educate, whatever it is, right? You stick. That's an expertise that's been created. I love it when producers come to me after a few years and they say, oh, dude, I know everything I need to know. I'm done. I'm like, you're far from it. You just started, man. Like a few years, you just started writing music. You have no idea. You might be sounding okay, but you have no idea. And that's okay. Like, you don't know until you don't know. I was there too. Not judging here at all. 100%, man. Yeah. And you know what it is? It's being in a position where I've seen, I can't say I've seen it all, but I've seen a lot, right? And I've seen a lot, and it's so obvious to me when people trip over stuff, and it's a natural process of it, right? I've tripped over the same thing many times in the music career.